Live from the glorious beaches of the world, this is a globally acclaimed 7.2 pH transformation show. I'm Glenn B. Stewart, your health coach and lifestyle transformation trainer. The 7.2 pH transformation show focuses on revitalizing the human body. This is done with dietary changes and whole food-based supplements. These critical changes put the body back into a disease-free alkaline state. Join us. Send us your 7.2 pH questions and future show suggestions. Email us at 7.2phshow@gmail.com.
You are what you eat. These are statements that have been said by many health practitioners. So here's the question for you today. Do you think what you drink affects the health of each and every cell in your body? That's the question that I'm going to ask Dr. Mercola tomorrow. Asking that question. But I'm also asking you. And I think most people would answer absolutely. What we drink has an effect on our bodies. In one of the books that I wrote called The pH Miracle for Weight Loss, we talk about the importance of drinking water, and one of the chapters is specifically on water. Water, water everywhere, but not a drop to drink. And the reason why there's water, water everywhere and not a drop to drink is because it's contaminated. It's contaminated not with what I just got through talking about, ionizing radiation, but it's now contaminated with chemicals. And a lot of these chemicals are things that we're flushing down the toilet that's getting into our water table. And so if you're flushing down Zoloft or Prozac or some high blood pressure medication, statin drugs, what have you, this is now showing up in our water supply. So you could be drinking water and be on an antidepressant or an antibiotic or even some sort of statin drug, and you wouldn't even know it, just from the water you're drinking. So the key to a long, healthy, vibrant life is to maintain the integrity of the internal fluids of the body by a process of superhydrating, or hydrating, I believe, with alkaline fluids. I recommend that a non-active child or adult drink at least 1 liter of alkaline water at a pH at a minimum of 9.5 for each 30 pounds of total body weight. With increased activity, though, through exercise or sport, I would suggest increasing that hydration anywhere from 1.5 to 2 liters per 30 pounds of weight. If we look at our collective health in the U.S., nearly 1 out of 2 Americans has a chronic condition. 1 out of 3 U.S. adults has or will have high blood pressure, up 30% over the past decade. New type 2 diabetes cases have doubled in 30 years. Currently, more than 64% of U.S. adults are either overweight or obese, a 36% increase from 1980. The prevalence of asthma has increased 75%. 60 to 70 million annual cases of digestive diseases in the United States, and nearly 46 million people in the U.S. have some form of arthritis or chronic joint symptomology. So what does our health care cost us? It's becoming a huge part of our major budget, both personal as well as governmental. 78% of healthcare dollars are spent on people with chronic illnesses. Per person, healthcare spending is projected to double. So what does lack of health cost each of us? So as you think about that question, and we tie that then into the importance of drinking alkaline water and maintaining what I believe is at the foundation its alkaline design. The most important fluid of the body is the blood, and it's slightly alkaline at a 7.365. More and more practitioners and researchers now believe that chronic degenerative disease flourishes in an acidic environment. Our body will naturally buffer these acidic states. but its ability to balance pH has been overwhelmed. Overwhelmed with acidic waters that we're drinking, acidic foods that we're eating, acidic air that we're breathing. All of these contribute to an overall acidic body. So where do most acids come from? Acids are biological waste products of metabolism, of the breakdown of our foods and the liquids we drink. When we exercise, we've all felt the biological acid of lactic acid and the effects and what it causes when the blood purifies itself by pushing that acid out into the connective tissue. We feel it as a pain. Acids from thinking. Now, if you're thinking about this, you're already producing acid because our thoughts require energy. And as you're using that energy, that's a function of metabolism. So energy used produces waste products. Also, as acids affect each individual cells or cells that make up our tissues and our organs, cells can break down. And as cells break down, they also release acids. Acids are also produced by, as cells break down, are produced by the bacteria that are created and the yeast that is created, produce acids like exotoxins and mycotoxins. And of course, we have acids from our environment. And these acids are carbon monoxide that we can see in large cities. We see carbon monoxide coming out of the car as it's burning gasoline. It's a biological waste product. And then acids that are unseen. Acids such as ionizing frequencies that come from our cell phones, or ionizing radiation that's coming from, unfortunately, nuclear plants that are melting down and are polluting our air and also our water. So what is the major organ or gland responsible for buffering acids of the body? I don't know if that question has ever been asked. And you surely won't find this in any medical texts. Would it be your lungs or your liver, your stomach, or intestines or skin? I would like to suggest to you that the major organ of the human body that's responsible for neutralizing acid is your stomach. Now, most medical science perceives that the stomach is an acid environment. And that is correct after it produces the alkaline compounds that help to neutralize the acids from our food. And so the stomach is a gland, or excuse me, an organ that produces an alkaline compound called sodium bicarbonate. It takes sodium, it takes carbon dioxide, and it takes water to produce that, and it pulls it from the blood. If our tissues need alkalinity, it's the stomach that starts creating that sodium bicarbonate to pull into the blood and tissues. What you end up with is a belly full of hydrochloric acid, and this is what causes ad nauseum. Nausea, which is not described in any medical text as it pertains to its pathological origins, is simply the body's need for more alkalinity. And what a better way to increase alkalinity than with the fluids that you're drinking, especially pure ionized or alkalized water. So the stomach is the correct answer. Can our bodies still handle this imbalance? We have turned an evolutionary corner. We simply do not handle acidic wastes the way we used to. This is Dr. Linda Frassetto, who I've worked with on occasion with several clients as it pertains to overacidity. And her research has shown that the sheer volume of acid waste our body has to handle has forced us to take drastic war-style action to preserve its strategic buffering reserves. And what are those buffering reserves? The sodium bicarbonate, the alkalinity that the body uses as the first defense on any acid. Of course, these reserves in the kidney and the liver are major essential detoxifying organs. The process of overacidification is really reflected in a foundational theory that there's only one sickness and one disease. Now, I know we have different names for illness and disease, but their origins are all the same. I've suggested in my work, in my research, that there's only one sickness and one disease, and that's the overacidification of the blood and then tissues due to an acidic lifestyle or dietary choice. When we begin to live an acidic life, the first symptom of overacidity, where the body does not have the ability to neutralize that acid, or our channels of elimination have been blocked, which are urination, perspiration, defecation, and respiration. If acids are not eliminated, the body tries the best it can, and it uses its energy reserves to remove these acids, and we start losing energy and we become enervated. We seem to be tired all the time. The second stage of acidosis is sensitivities or irritation. Allergies is a perfect example of this. Allergy is a sensitivity to some acidic toxin, either environmental or it could be food-based too as well. The body tries to deal with it. It tries to buffer it, and then it tries to eliminate it. If the body doesn't have ample alkaline reserves to neutralize the environmental acid or the digestive acid, it of course expresses itself as an irritation. The third stage of acidosis is catarrh. Catarrh is when the body uses its alkaline reserves to buffer the acid regardless of where it's from, and it forms a sticky mass of mucus. Mucus is then the body's way of neutralizing a very toxic substance so it doesn't permeate other healthy cells and damage them. Inflammation is fourth-stage acidosis. As we become more toxic, as acids build up, the blood tries to maintain its integrity and delicate pH is 7.365. It pushes acids then out into the connective tissue, which is the acid catcher for the blood, in order to preserve the integrity of the blood. As acid is coming from the blood into the tissues, it causes a symptom. That symptom is inflammation. The fifth stage is induration. This is when the body uses alkaline buffers, such as sodium bicarbonate, but others that the body could use, which would be sodium and magnesium, potassium and calcium. The body may pull calcium from the bones in order to buffer acidity, forming acid crystals. It takes then the acid from a liquid state to a solid state, thus preserving the damage since these acids can permeate any cellular membrane and damage them. So induration is the crystallization of acids that build up on the walls of our arteries or build up in our lungs or in our elimination organs that restrict the natural process of eliminating waste products. If our blood cannot flow because of acidic crystal buildup, this can cause an increase in our blood pressure. So the symptomologies of induration would be things like atherosclerotic plaque, hypercholesterolemia, high cholesterol, and even hypertension, where the blood pressure, the systolic rate, and the diastolic rate goes up. Even your pulse rate will go up. The sixth stage is ulceration. This is when our buffers have been depleted and the acids begin to deteriorate the tissues, causing even internal bleeding. The seventh stage then is the final stage of acidosis, and really the expression, the culmination of all sickness and disease, and that is degeneration. When tissue begins to degenerate, it becomes very, very difficult to repair that. Degenerative tissue, if not eliminated, the body will encapsulate that using a clotting mechanism, forming a clot, and we end up with clots in our body. Some acid is bound by fat. It's a major cause of obesity, is the body retaining fat as a protective mechanism in order to buffer acids that are not being properly eliminated through the four channels of elimination. So the expression of disease, may I suggest, is the body trying to preserve itself. We might even say that disease is an illusion. The disease in of itself is not the condition that we need to address, but the symptom of what is being expressed from an overacidic lifestyle and diet. So the body does some wonderful things to help protect ourselves from our own acidic lifestyle and dietary choices. It will retain water. Now, why would the body retain water? The body would retain water in order to protect the tissues, protect the organs that sustain life. So the body retains water to neutralize excess toxins or body acids. As I mentioned earlier, the body retains fat as a buffer of excess organs, of excess acidity in order to protect the internal organs of the body that sustain life. The body will create cholesterol, will use fats, and release those fats to bind acid too as well, to crystallize them so they don't permeate the cell wall and damage the cell. Also, if acids are damaging the tissue from within to prevent from internal bleeding, there'll be premature clotting to prevent acid damage of the tissues and also to arrest internal bleeding. The body will also leach minerals such as calcium and magnesium from the bones or the muscles to neutralize acidity, which can lead to stones, but the stone is not the problem, it's the symptom of acid that's being produced from an over-acid lifestyle and diet. Tumors are also problematic, but once again, a very high level of expression of damage to the tissues where the body's trying to protect itself so that one acid cell doesn't affect another healthy cell and cause it to break down. It's what I call the rotten apple effect, where you would take a rotten apple and put it in a bushel of apples, and of course the acids from that one apple would permeate the other apples, spoiling the whole bushel of apples. Well, the body protects itself from that happening, where one cell is fermenting or breaking down. Its waste products or acids will spoil another cell. And of course, to protect that domino effect from continuing, or to protect the healthy tissue, the body will encapsulate, form a clot or a tumor to encapsulate those fermenting or acidic cells. The body will also remove acids out through the skin if they're not properly being removed through urination, defecation, or respiration. When this happens, strong acids can burn the skin, causing all sorts of blemishes and imperfections to the skin. The body does this all in an effort to maintain its delicate pH balance of the internal fluids at 7.365. So how important is drinking alkaline water? Dr. Atkins said this, and I quote, "The cells and fluids in most people's bodies are overly acidic. This can cause a lot of health problems. It prevents your body from neutralizing and disposing of harmful, poisonous toxins and leaves you more susceptible to the cell-damaging free radical oxidation or fermentation that leads to cancerous conditions and other diseases." And I have said for many years, in reality, there is only one sickness and there's only one disease, and that is the overacidification of the blood and tissues due to an inverted way of living, eating, and thinking. And if there's only one sickness and one disease, then there's possibly then only one health. And I believe that one health is maintaining the alkaline design of the internal fluids, which then in turn maintains the health of your cells, which make up your organs and your tissues. So let me ask you this question. What kind of water do you drink now? Do you drink bottled water? Do you drink tap water? Do you drink filtered ionized water from a home system, like reverse osmosis water? Do you drink filtered water from a third party? Oh, I already had that down there, the reverse osmosis or the Brita water system. So what kind of water do you drink? And what is the pH of the type of water that you're drinking? One of the chapters in one of my books called The pH Miracle, I have that chapter on water. I actually have tested hundreds of different waters, and I find that most water, if not all water that I've tested, has a pH of 7 or less. Our tap water, because they chlorinate it, which is actually an alkalizing compound, but it's also very difficult to get out of the body, and it's not natural to the body, has a pH just slightly over 7. So does the type of water you drink, does the pH, is it 6 or 7 or 8 or greater than 9? So over the last 20 plus years, I have determined that there's 4 attributes of a healthy drinking water. The first attribute, which I'm sure you'd all agree with, that the water has to be clean and it has to be pure. It has to be free of heavy metals. It has to be free of toxic chemicals. It has to be free of pharmaceuticals. It has to be clean. It has to be free of ionizing radiation from nuclear fallout. This is critical. The second attribute of a healthy water, I believe it has to be alkaline. Why? Because the human body is alkaline by design. All of its functions are acidic. Breathing, thinking, eating, all produce acids. Body, when it's born, it's alkaline by its design. We need to keep it that way if we want to keep it healthy and strong. The third attribute is the water has to be energized. It must carry an energy. Water is a catalyst that can deliver energy to the body. And of course, this energy can be measured using a meter, and it's measured in had a senior moment here. Yeah, the water. I started thinking about what I was talking about. Anyway, the water has to be energized, and that water carries an electrical negative charge, and it can be measured in millivolts. It should carry a negative charge versus a positive charge. So we measure the water, and also the water should be molecularly unclustered. Traditionally, tap water is a clustered water, multiply clustered. We should have an unclustered water somewhere around 3 to 5 molecules. So these are the 4 attributes of healthy water. So the world's healthiest waters, nature's answer. Trinity is a water from Idaho. It's a well water. They have a well that goes down over 2 miles, and the water that they extract there has a pH of approximately 9.5, so it has natural alkalizing salts of potassium and sodium bicarbonate. Lourdes has had, for centuries, been talked about, has healing powers. The pH of Lourdes is in the 7s. Hunsa water is also in the 7s. Destiny water, which is Hawaiian water, pulled from 3,000 feet below the ocean surface. It's a clean, pure water, naturally alkaline at 7.5, and miracle water, of course, can have a pH anywhere, because it's an ionized water, can have a pH anywhere from a 1 pH clear up to a 12 pH or a 13 pH. So these waters, particularly the alkaline waters, have shown to make a significant difference in people's health. And I've been studying this for many, many years. And as I increase the hydration of these alkaline fluids, and we start perfusing the tissues with high pH waters ranging anywhere from a minimum of 9.5 up to 12.5, we see physiological changes that take place in the tissues in a positive way. So the characteristic of these waters that have been healing for many centuries have a characteristic that they're all alkaline. And they have beneficial alkaline minerals such as sodium bicarbonate or potassium or magnesium. They also carry a strong electrically negative charge that can be measured by using an ORP meter. They range anywhere from negative 50 millivolts clear up to a negative 750 millivolts. And of course, if you're taking, let's say, just tap water and want to structure that water into an alkaline state, these specific ionizing machines can help to do that by restructuring the water, increasing its electrical activity, and increasing its pH too as well, right from your tap. So how effective is this type of water? Well, let me quote Dr. Horowitz. International studies show that populations with little or no history of illness, such as cancer, drink higher pH alkaline waters. After all potential risk factors were considered and factored out, it became evident that they had been drinking waters with a pH of 9 to 10, close quote. So I've been talking about ionization, and many of you are probably thinking, well, what is ionization, or what is an ion? An ion is a charged particle. That particle can be either negatively charged or positively charged. For example, hydrogen carries a positive charge, where hydroxyl ions, which is OH minus, carries a negative charge. A water ionizer is a water technology that electrically activates or charges the minerals or ions in the water. This process alters the water in two ways. First, it raises or it lowers the pH. Second, it alters the electrical properties by either increasing electrical activity in the forms of a saturation of electrons, or it decreases electrical activity by increasing the saturation of protons in the water. It also, through this ionization process, the voltage will break up the natural microclustering. So the water, as it breaks down, will be smaller in its structure. So rather than, let's say, having 20 molecules per cluster, you would have maybe 3 to 5 molecules per cluster. Well, what does that do when we break down these larger clusters of water? One, it increases the surface area, and two, by increasing surface area, it increases surface charge. And this is how the pH then goes up, and also the electrical activity of the water goes up. Because as we break down these large clusters of water molecules into smaller and smaller clusters, even down to the monomolecular state, which would be one molecule, we're increasing surface area, which also increases surface charge of the water. So here's a pH scale ranging from a 3 pH to a 10.5 pH. And here you can see it's exponential, where we're going from a 7 to 8, that's 10 times more alkaline, or even up to a 10.5, which is 5,000 times more alkaline, versus, let's say, from a 7 to a 3 pH, which is 10,000 times more acidic. And what that means is the body becomes more acidic. It means it contains a higher concentration of positive charges or hydrogen ions. If the water is becoming more alkaline, then it contains more electrical negative charges or electrons in the water, so the water is saturated with electrical energy in the form of electrons. As I've tested many different substances, like orange juice, for example, I have found that the pH of orange juice is highly acidic. Here we have a product, Sunny Delight, with a pH of 2.81, with an electrical charge which is saturated with hydrogen ions, which is then expressed in a positive charge at 232 millivolts. Bud Light has a pH of 4.25, which is also acidic and also carries an electrical charge which is saturated with hydrogen ions, giving an electrical reading in millivolts of 177 millivolts. Coffee at 5 with positive 140 millivolts. So when we look at some of the most common fluids that people are drinking, we find out that they're moderately or highly acidic, and they carry a charge that would pull energy from the body rather than contribute energy to the body. Now this is an important thing to understand, because as we're putting alkalinity in our body, this is actually contributing to our alkaline bank account or our alkaline reserves. when we're pulling energy or alkalinity away from our bodies, this is going to deplete our alkaline bank and, of course, create a symptom of enervation. And the biochemistry is very, very extreme. For example, one of the metabolites or acids from metabolism is carbonic acid, or H2CO3. Well, carbonic acid is highly acidic, and it takes 20 parts of sodium bicarbonate, which is what the stomach produces, in order to neutralize this metabolite from metabolism. It takes 20 parts of sodium bicarbonate to neutralize 1 part of carbonic acid in order to maintain a normal pH of 7.365. So the body is constantly in need of alkalinity. The body is constantly starving for more electrons. It takes it from our food, it takes it from the water we drink, it can even take it from the sun. We absorb it through the skin. So many ways to get electrons into our body, but this is what our body feeds on. You see, our bodies are electrical. They run on electricity, not on calories, not on sugar, not on proteins, not on carbohydrates, not on fats, but it runs on the electrical potential of what we're drinking, what we're eating, and what we're absorbing. Okay? So it's very, very important to understand that it's just about impossible to over-alkalize because the ratios are quite extreme in the biochemistry of our bodies. This is a picture of blood from one of my clients that I took many years ago, who was on a highly acidic diet, incorporating lots of sugar and animal proteins. You'll notice that the blood is irregularly shaped. And of course, in the plasma, you see entities there that look like ping pong balls. These are what are referred to as Y-form yeast, a lot like Candida albicans. In the right side, you see the unhealthy organization of the way the blood coagulates. I'll show you here in a minute what healthy blood looks like when it coagulates, but it should not have any of these white areas at all. The actual clot should be tight, should be held together with a protein called fibrin, and there should be no spaces or missing red blood cell conglomerate. Here we see in the center, we see round, symmetrical, round protein pools, which indicates an irritation or an inflammation of the base of the body, which would be your reproductive organs or your bowels. Where here in an AIDS patient who had been on AZT and other chemical drugs for over 10 years, we see a clot that is hypocoagulated, which is common in a degenerative condition, where there's lots of red blood cell conglomerate missing. Here is the healthy state of the red blood cells when you're on an alkalizing lifestyle and diet, particularly when you're hydrating with electron-rich alkaline water. The red blood cells are round and symmetrical, even in color, even in shape, even in size. The plasma is clear or clean. There's not a lot of cellular debris. And when we look at the way the blood coagulates, there's no missing red blood cell conglomerate where there's just white pasty masses. It's just one mat of red held together with a protein called fibrin, tightly held together in a hypercoagulated state. This is the state of those who are experiencing the highest level of energy, vitality, health, and fitness. This kind of blood you don't get. This kind of blood you have to work at. Just like when you work out to build muscle, you have to work out with intention to build healthy blood, in order to build healthy bones and muscles. You do it with what you eat, and you do it especially with what you drink. You probably noticed down in the corner there's a fishbowl. And I hadn't referred to this as yet, but it's a metaphor that I've used for many, many years. And it starts out like this. When the fish is sick, what would you do? Would you treat the fish or change the water? And as you think about that question, the answer intuitively is very simple. Well, you would not treat the fish, but you would change the water. The next question is, what would your doctor do? Or how do we actually look at sickness and disease, and how do we respond to it? We respond to the treatment of the organs that are sick, rather than realizing that the organ or gland or tissue that is sick or diseased is only as healthy as the water it swims in. Much like the fish. The fish is only as healthy as the water it swims in. So if overacidification is bad, then how does our body take care of this problem? Well, you have 4 channels of elimination to get rid of acid. You've got respiration. What would happen if you weren't able to get rid of carbon dioxide? Well, we know we used to do this as kids. We would hold our breath and see how long it took before we passed out. It only takes about 3 or 4 minutes. Then you lay there unconscious till the body can get rid of that particular or neutralize that particular acid, and you wake up. Well, carbon dioxide is an acid that's produced during metabolism. It's a gas. You see, acids take on different forms: gas, liquid, or solid. Of course, we can't say, how do we get rid of all of our acid? Because we're constantly producing it through our thoughts and our words and our deeds. So the body has a system. It's not a system that you can read about in the biology books, but it's a system called the alkaline buffering system. And the alkaline buffering system starts with the stomach. The stomach is the major organ that produces the alkalinity the body needs in order to neutralize the acids it produces through metabolism. That particular alkaline compound is called sodium bicarbonate. So it begins with the stomach. As the stomach produces sodium bicarbonate, it delivers it by the circulatory system, the blood, to the various glands, so the salivary glands. What does the salivary gland release? It releases a compound called sodium bicarbonate. It also fills up the pylorus glands, the lubricant glands. The pancreas, as a gland, secretes sodium bicarbonate to raise the alkalinity of the food that we eat and the liquids that we drink. Well, our body becomes overwhelmed with acid from lifestyle and dietary choices. If we smoke tobacco, if we chew tobacco, if we take pharmaceutical or recreational drugs, if we're drinking acidic water, if we're not exercising and removing acids through the pores of our skin, acids build up. So what we eat, what we drink, and even our thoughts can create an overacidic body, overwhelming our body systems.